Here we have another sample question. In tomatoes, red fruit, big R, is dominant over yellow fruit, little r. If a homozygous red fruit is crossed with a yellow fruit, A, what is the appearance of the F1 generation? So we need to use a Punnett square here to figure out what the F1 generation is going to look like. We know that we have a homozygous red fruit. So that means that this fruit is going to be big R, big R. And we're going to cross it with a recessive yellow fruit, which will be little r, little r. Let's set up our Punnett square. Okay, so I'm going to put both parents on the sides. Remember, only one allele per column or row. When I start filling in these squares, I'm going to draw the square, or I'm going to draw the genotype from the intersection of the two alleles. So in this top square, I see that it's going to be big R, little r. Because big R is dominant, that means that individual will be red. If I go across one, I see it's going to be the same thing. And actually, I see it's going to be the same thing in the bottom rows as well. So one thing we can do sometimes, if we don't want to take all the time to write out everything, is we can actually draw arrows to bring it down. So all of the individuals in the F1 generation will be red. And remember that red is the phenotype, okay? Because the genotype of the individuals is going to be heterozygous. Continuing on with this question, we are asked, what are the genotypes of F2 if two plants from F1 are crossed? So all of the individuals in the F1 generation are red. We also know all of the individuals in F1 are heterozygotes. So they all have the genotype of big R, little r. So we are going to be crossing a big R, little r with another big R, little r. Let's build another Punnett square. So since both of them are big R, little r, we will have one dominant allele and one recessive allele as a possibility for each. When I combine my first square, I get a homozygous dominant. My second square, I get a heterozygote. Third square, I also get a heterozygote. But then the fourth square, I'm going to get a homozygous recessive. Now, remember this question's asking us about the genotypes. So we want to know about the actual genetics. So here, I'm going to write this as a ratio. I'm going to say that we have one big R to two big R, little r's, to one little r, little r. Or I could also write this another way. I could say I have one homozygous dominant to two heterozygotes to one homozygous recessive. Typically, though, we would actually want to write out what the genotypes are. So if it's asking you for the genotype, you'll probably be saying, okay, this is what the exact genotypes are. It's 1 big R, 2 big R, little r's, to 1 little r, little r. Finally, we're asked what are the phenotypes of F2. So we have 1 big R, and 2 big R, little r's. Both of those will be red. So we will say that there are 3 reds, and then we only have a single homozygous recessive, little r, so that means 1 yellow. So the phenotypes is a ratio of 3 reds to every 1 yellow.